Hi, I'm Ted Venema. Let's talk tinnitus. Tinnitus, the ringing in the ear. Some say tinnitus, some say tinnitus, some say tomato, some say tomato, doesn't matter. But let's talk about ringing in the ears. It comes from the Latin word tinere, which means to tinkle or ring like a bell. Hearing a sound when no external sound is present. That's important. Distinguish it from otoacoustic emissions, which is an objective sound. Tinnitus is subjective. You hear it, no one else does. It can be a ringing, buzzing, whistling, roaring, clicking, can be a nuisance, can be debilitating. Now think of the word nuisance. If you can get to the stage of thinking it's just a nuisance, you're well on the way to recovery. Because there's a lot about tinnitus that I want to talk about here. The typical advice is nothing can be done. Well, it's common. It's very common. 10 in 100 or 10% of people report tinnitus. 1 in 100 are really bothered by their tinnitus. 20 in 100, 20% of people 60 years old or older report tinnitus. Famous tinnitus people. Vincent van Gogh. Well, yeah, I think I would too if I'd cut off one of my ears. I don't know, but Beethoven, Michelangelo, Joan of Arc. She heard a lot of voices. Charles Darwin, coming up with evolution. Maybe he deserved it, I don't know. Bill Clinton, William Shatner, Star Trek. Anyway, Peter Townsend, Eric Clapton, you got some loud music happening there. David Letterman. So tinnitus and hearing loss. You can have hearing loss without tinnitus. So you can also, it makes sense that you can have tinnitus without having hearing loss. In fact, some people with supersensitive hearing report tinnitus. So let's talk about it. The main thing here is awareness of tinnitus fluctuates. And that, people, is one of the main handles of grip and control that we can have over tinnitus. Our awareness that it fluctuates over time, that gives us knowledge or power that we can have to control it. I'll talk about that because obsessing about it can become a real problem. First of all, let's talk turkey here. We all have some tinnitus. If we are in a dead, quiet room, a soundproof room, you may after a while be able to detect tinnitus. In other words, if you were in a completely soundproof room, you'd probably hear your lunch digesting. In that quiet, you'd hear your swallowing. You'd hear everything. So then you will begin to hear tinnitus, many of us. The sounds of tinnitus are subjective. They can be constant or intermittent, mainly noticed at night when it's quiet. And that's what people say. When awareness of tinnitus fluctuates, they hear it mostly at night when it's dead quiet. Sometimes it's heard in one ear, sometimes in both, right? Sometimes right in the center of the head. Wide variety of sounds, ringing, buzzing, as I said earlier. Noise-induced hearing loss tends to have a high-pitched, whining, ringing tinnitus. Meniere's disease, that we'll talk about later, has more of a roaring tinnitus. Pulsing tinnitus is likely vascular in origin, kind of a and that's one type of more objective tinnitus. A physician may be able to actually hear that tinnitus. That's usually vascular in origin. The causes of tinnitus can be simple or whoppingly complex. Examples of simple: earwax against the tympanic membrane. Aspirin. Now, stop here for a second. Elderly are often counseled to take aspirin as blood thinners or as arthritis treatment. It can be a good thing. If the doctor has put the person on aspirin, don't stop taking aspirin, but know this, that aspirin is often known to aggravate tinnitus. And when the aspirin intake stops, the tinnitus often goes away. Here's another one, a long word: aminoglycosides, medications ending in mycin, M-Y-C-I-N. Not erythromycin, but lots of the other mycin, streptomycin, kanamycin, vancomycin, all these. They are an antibiotic and they are known to be ototoxic, and they also cause tinnitus. Again, a pulsing tinnitus is likely vascular in origin, but the vast majority of tinnitus arises from complex things. Now, eighth nerve tumors are not common. Okay, eighth nerve tumor. Eighth nerve is the nerve that carries info from your inner ear to your brain. Okay, in rare cases, 1 in 100,000 people, a tumor may emerge on that nerve, and that's got to be taken out. Eighth nerve tumor, but that's rare. Here's the most common one, an imbalance between afferent and efferent auditory paths. What the heck is that? Well, remember we talked outer and inner hair cells? Inner hair cells send all info to the brain. Outers take info from the brain. Well, it's a lack of balance between that brain going and brain giving information that can cause a ringing in the ear. Now, how are you going to fix that? Well, you can't fix it. There's no magic cure. Defining tinnitus, it's often associated with hearing loss. In many cases, it's a central phenomenon. It means, the theories often include outer hair cell damage and hearing loss. The auditory parts of the brain, the auditory cortex and the eighth nerve, amplify awareness of tinnitus. Your limbic system, the primitive area deep inside your brain, the fight or flight type of thing, and your autonomic nervous system, your automatic nervous system, in other words, your more primitive nervous system, gets afraid when you hear tinnitus and doesn't know what it is. And so it makes more of a mountain out of a molehill. Let's kind of make some sense here. Richard Tyler, PhD, is a world-renowned researcher in tinnitus, University of Iowa in the States. He says it arises from neural fibers regulated from your brain stem, the spinal cord in your brain, and your cortex of the brain, and the perceptions come from your auditory areas, your temporal lobe, the sides of your brain. And he said in some cases, even if the eighth nerve is cut, so you've made that ear deaf, okay? No information. Even 30% still have the tinnitus. So it's obviously a brain thing. You can mask the tinnitus sometimes in the ear opposite to the ear that has tinnitus. In other words, if this ear has ringing in the ear, sometimes you can put sound in the opposite ear and mask that, which is kind of weird. So it's telling you that the causes of tinnitus are not simple. They're whoppingly complex, involve neural pathways both to and from the brain. It's obvious there's no quick little medicinal fix. The reaction to the tinnitus creates distress, not the tinnitus itself. The limbic system, the more primitive areas in the brain, can cause fearful worries about the causes. And I kind of look at it like this. You're stuck in traffic, much like I was the other day, and you don't know what the problem is. But all you know is you're stuck in gridlock traffic. You're watching your anxiety increase, your blood pressure's going up, your worries are going up, and then finally you've had enough. And you get out of the car and you knock on the trucker next to you who's higher up and you say, what the heck is going on up there? Oh, there's an accident up ahead. There's a truck rolled over. Oh. Okay, now you go back in your car and you go call the wife or yeah, I'm going to be late. There's a truck turned. At least now you know the cause. At least now you know it's not dangerous. Your anxiety has gone down because you got information. And it doesn't change the fact that you're going to be late. You still have the ringing in the ear, but your fear has to be abated, and that's the trick of treating tinnitus. No medications help. Sorry, the medications we use, that we try, are no better than those used by the ancient Egyptians. I'm sorry, that's just not going to help. It's called snake oil. You can find them at Walmart, go ahead if you want to blow your money, but there's no magic cure. The actual intensity of tinnitus, about 5 decibels over your hearing levels. Okay, honest to Pete, I'm not lying. The actual intensity of the tinnitus is not related to the degree of annoyance you get from the tinnitus. It's how much you're layering it like an oyster does to make a pearl. How much are you, so your distress or annoyance is not directly related to your perceived intensity of the tinnitus. Tyler says periodic tinnitus, like a ring, if you can take noise and give that to the ear at the same time, you can get rid of the perception of the tonal quality of that tinnitus and break up your awareness of it to that degree. The cure is not to, if this is your tinnitus, don't completely cover it up, because then you're making the cure worse than the disease. The trick is to just take the edge off. Notice you hear it more at night. Okay, when it's dead quiet. Well, a little bit of noise to take the edge off of it, to take your attention, partially mask the tinnitus. Look, tinnitus is mostly noticeable in the absence of sound. If you can create a little bit of noise, you can lessen your awareness of the annoying tinnitus by adding a little bit of background noise. The trick is to habituate it. Notice how you hear a fridge when you first get it. It's a different sound in your kitchen. Or notice how if you go to someone's house who lives by a railroad and you're going, wow, is that ever loud? The person who lives there is so used to it. You habituate to things. You get used to it after a while. And I guess that's one of the tricks that they've done. And one treatment for tinnitus, it's called tinnitus retraining therapy. What they do is they get you to listen to an annoying sound while you're trying to watch a movie. And then over sessions, they make that annoying sound more and more like your tinnitus. So you're trained to just ignore it. The trick is to realize it's not dangerous, to rule out an actual tumor or pathology, and when you realize it's not dangerous, now it's just a nuisance. And if it's just a nuisance, let's get you to desensitize to it and habituate it to some degree. Here's a guy who lives in a van down by the river in the States. His name is Roy Bain, and he counsels a lot of elderly like this. He says, when you were young, you had normal hearing. And when you had normal hearing, you could pick up background noise, which masked or covered your tinnitus. Now you have hearing loss, so you can't hear the background noise as well. And now you hear your tinnitus more. It's plausible. Masking noise types, an air conditioner or a fan, open window, radio, even between stations, noise generators like hippy-dippy rainforest, hey man, or hearing aids. They are the cloud of hearing aids is, oh, they pick up background noise. Well, guess what? That can become a silver lining, because hearing aids also can mask or cover tinnitus. Some hearing aids even have tinnitus programs in them that produce sounds that help to mask or cover the tinnitus. And that's the silver lining. There's lots of ways that you can deal with your tinnitus. And the best way is to try and realize it's just a nuisance, provide a little bit of background noise to somewhat cover it. Here's a last piece of advice. If you're noticing it mostly at night in your room when you're trying to sleep, don't go into the bedroom and turn on a fan and then try and go to sleep. That's telling yourself you're doing that because you know you have tinnitus. The trick is to always have a bit of background noise going on in the room. So it's natural. And so you're not turning on the fan or turning on the air conditioner when you're trying to sleep, but to always have it on. So that you're breaking that chain of cause and effect. You're just walking into that bedroom where there's always a bit of that background noise. Anyway, here's hoping this has helped to demystify some of the mysticism, if you will, about that ringing in the ear called tinnitus. Thank you.